Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. The purpose of this video is to review some modelling projects that I have on the go at the moment. If you've been watching the recent spate of videos, I've been working on this DR1 Fokker triplane, and it's basically a wreck of a model that's sat in somebody's a garage lock-up. It looked like it had been in a crash and then been stored for some time. I've been working on the wings and I have the lower wing completed and the middle wing done now. It just needs covering. The upper wing will need rebuilding from scratch, and that'll be a video on its own right, drawing up a set of plans for it. And I started to strip down this fuselage, as you can see here, and I noticed that there was some damage which will be easily repaired. This strut needs taken out. We have some what I think is a mouse attack. Struts missing here, not a big deal. A bigger issue was I needed some motive power to move this thing, and I picked up this engine at a very reasonable price. The guy did an excellent deal with me. It's Zenoa 38. We'll come to the capacity of the beast in a moment. And if you check out one of the last videos I did, I spent most of Sunday playing around with it, trying to get it to start with no luck, until, being given some advice, I turned my attention to the carburetor. Now, these petrol engines are very new to me, but they are fairly simple affairs in terms of engineering. There's not a lot to go wrong with them. It's either producing a spark, in this case through a magneto, or it's an issue with the fuel supply. And I found if I was squirting fuel directly into the carb, basically flooding the engine, I could get the thing to start off while there was fuel going through, but it wasn't going through properly. And it goes down to the membrane that sits inside this carburetor. It sat for so long that it dried, and when they dry, they don't act as a pump to bring fuel to the engine. Putting fuel onto the membrane, opening up the lower valve, letting it sit for an hour with fuel soaked and dripping around the carb seems to have done the job. And it fired up. It'll need to be tuned, but it's got tons and tons of power. So I then looked at, is this thing too big? Because physically it is too big. Let's have a look. If we look here at the front end, the first thing that you need to know is that this has been exaggerated in the flare kit, because I believe this is a flare design, if not totally from a kit. It may have been scratch built. At least the inspiration comes from a flare line. And this distance here is bigger than it was on the prototype. If I take the cowl off, if I stick that on the front of this bulkhead, it's going to protrude far too much out of the cowl. The exhaust would need to be turned round, of course. So something has to happen here. If we look at the actual prototype drawings, and I've got one up on the computer, let's zoom in on that. I think you can see from that the upper cabin is approximately in line with the undercarriage, and the nose is much shorter. Now, that being the case, it's going to help me to fit this engine into this, and the bonus is it'll appear more scale-like, but it will involve some major surgery. If we go back and I put the cowl back on, just bear with me a second, there you go, that's close enough. If we put the cowl on and I bring the engine up, of course it wouldn't have a spinner on it. We need the bulkhead to be approximately here. So I think that's about 2 inches need to be taken back from where it currently is. And that's going to involve some major surgery. I'm going to have to cut this whole section off at the front and add a new bulkhead. I have seen another design of a quarter scale Fokker DR1, and it had this major it had 2 bulkheads actually. This one was cut out and it had another bulkhead set back here, and it was using basically the same engine. Now, in terms of engine capacity, I've read an awful lot on the forums and I've had some good advice from people who've flown flare Fokker DR1s. Some of the advice has been that's way too big, and other advice has been or go bigger. So I'm stuck in the middle, and I'm going to live with it. I got the actual model for nothing. I've virtually got the engine for nothing. I'm going to make it work, and while it might have more power than it's perhaps going to need, I often fly aircraft on half throttle anyway. I'm used to that. I'd rather have useful weight in the front of a plane rather than lumps of the church roof. So that being the case, this is going to need some major surgery, and I may give myself a little bit of a break from this project while I think through how I'm going to do it. That being said, I still have the tail feathers to repair and to sort, and that could be a little video for you to see. They have to be remade. This skid, I can't live with that wire skid. I'm going to take it out. And if the model becomes very nose heavy because of the engine, I think I'll actually be putting the radio gear in a hatch in the back. Not in the top, but in the back. There'd be an access hatch to get to the radio gear. I would still have the pull cables coming through, but the weight would be where it was needed to create balance. So that's where I am with that. Let's look at some of the other projects I have in the pipeline. I'll just pause it while I get them out to show you. Here is another project that I'm working on, and it's the Cirrus Moth. I think I referred to it as the Gypsy Moth because I have one of them upstairs in storage. I've stopped on this for this reason. That's basically what I'd come up with for the exhaust. The exhaust coming out the side, unscale-like. Actually, the tubing would be on the inside for the pressurised tank. It would protrude out the side, and basically it would spew fuel all over the place. But the main thing is it would look awful. I can't live with that. I might just take this off. So I'm actually currently waiting for a part to arrive. I'm waiting for a 90-degree bend for the exhaust, and I intend taking the exhaust down through and out through the bottom of the fuselage, and then I'll be able to put a dummy scale exhaust system on the other side, which basically runs the length of the fuselage. I can't live with that, and because of that, rather than push on just to get the model finished, I've put it on hold, and I'm going to wait until I've got that part, and then I'll tackle hiding the exhaust altogether on it. That's why I've stopped. It's almost ready to start, well, the wings are certainly ready to start covering. This still needs work on the cockpit, and as I said, the exhaust system needs to be added. But it's on hold for that reason, if anybody's been wondering why it stopped. So I'm going to be a bit twitchy, and I'm going to need some more modelling to do, because I model every single day. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do now. Here we have the next project that I'm about to start. I think, well, I did do a video showing you that I'd come across, I'd been handed this beautiful little vintage kit of the Mercury Matador, a very early pioneer for radio control. In fact, this on the box is the radio control that was suggested. A push button, a box that's about the size of a small carry-on bag on an aircraft. That was radio control back in the day. I opened it up and had a look, really excited about it, but I needed an engine. And I'm fortunate now that through a club member who's got a big collection of engines and he keeps having engines handed on to him, I've picked up a couple of engines from him. One is a Frog 1.5 and the other is a DC. I think it's a Spitfire as the name, and that's 1.5. Both of these would be ideal for flying this model with 2-channel rudder and elevator with some lightweight radio gear. So the model that I'm going to start next, the project that I'm going to begin while I'm pushing on with the Fokker DR1 and waiting for the parts for the Cirrus Moth, is going to be this beautiful, beautiful kit. It's real old school, and that is the building of the Mercury Matador. There's part one of the kit, very straightforward, stick and balsa build. I'm really excited about building it, and I'll tell you why. For many people this puts them off, but the reason I'm really excited, just bear with me a second, I can show you here. None of the parts are cut out. It really takes me back to the very first kit that I was given when I think I was 11 years old by my father. I was playing rugby and I saw he had a big brown paper bag under his arm while he was watching me on the pitch. And when the game finished, I got home and he bought me a kit. I can't remember what it was, but it was a model aircraft kit, and this is what it was like. Everything had to be cut out by hand, and the tools that were available at the time were basically a Stanley knife and a steel ruler and a hand hacksaw. So I'm really looking forward to building a model such as this, which is basically one step away from building directly from a plan. The only thing that I'm saving on is I haven't had to trace or cut out the parts. They've been printed direct onto the wood, but everything needs to be cut out. Nothing is even stamped out, which was the next phase. Laser cutting came much later. All the parts need to be carefully cut out with a new scalpel blade, and I'll be enjoying that whole process. And it will, all these vintage models are a real homage to nostalgia for me. It takes me back to when I was younger. I think as you get older, you get more interested in things you did as a youth. Perhaps, as they say, youth is wasted on the young. So that's the idea. I'm going to be starting this. It'll be the next video I do. I'm going to be starting this build. I may start with the wings. I tend to start with the... No, I'm going to start with the fuselage. Let's get the fuselage built first. So that's the next project. It's the Mercury Matador, a beautiful model, which I was handed. It was handed over to me on the strip by Eric, one of the stalwarts of the club. Came from somebody's estate. And Eric's done this once and he ain't doing it again, he said. So I've got everything I need now to get this going. I've got this, the engines, I've got the plans. Time to get modelling. Thanks for looking in. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe if you haven't already done so. And a thumbs up helps spread the word to other YouTube followers. Bye for now.